Anyway, the original books, there's this guy there who developed a science called psychohistory, Harry Seldon. He developed psychohistory. It's a whole science of anticipating what's going to change, how society is going to change through statistical analysis of human behavior. And he called it psychohistory. And so Hyle's work is a little bit like that. It's like a 21st century version of that. He's really, really good at sort of understanding trends and helping to correct them for organizations. So his response was instant. He said conflict resolution. And if you think about the way technology is going, particularly something like autonomous weapons, yeah, we can't solve this by controlling it, because you can make one in your garage for $6,000, or you can buy one from the Australian manufacturers of these cardboard AI-controlled drones, military drones, for $3,000 or something. So how can you control that? It's impossible. Nuclear weapons are really relatively easy to control because it takes the wealth of a nation to build one. They can be detected because they're radioactive. They're really hard to hide, and nobody can afford them, and nobody knows how to do it. So that's completely different phenomena. So how do we control this? We have to control ourselves. So we have to learn how to live together in peace. It's imperative now. So there's this whole sort of future theory about what they call successful planets and failed planets. And this is a thing in science fiction. It's a meme. And failed planets are the ones that don't solve this and destroy themselves once they reach a certain level of technological advancement. And the ones that are successful are the ones that figure out how these sentient beings can live together in peace. And we're getting to that point. So that's the serious stuff. And I love this quote, of course, as a musician. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, then we will know peace. Okay. This is also, actually, some people attribute this to, what's his name, William Gladstone. He was the Prime Minister of England a couple of hundred years ago, but I'm going with Jimi Hendrix because he's a better guitarist. So, but I think you really hit the nail on the head. We've got to develop this part of ourselves that cherishes human relationships and learn to love one another no matter, and expand that. So it's not just our family or just our friends or just people who look like us. By the way, questions. If you have any questions or observations that are pertinent, since we're such a small group, feel free to indicate that. I may or may not respond in the moment, but I will later, all right? In other words, license to interrupt, sort of. Okay. So as I said, there isn't a consensus on this, so I'm going to give you a couple of ideas about intelligence. First thing, and again, I'm getting this, I got it from various sources, but intelligence and consciousness are not the same thing. That seems clear. There's all kinds of intelligence. I read a really amazing book about different types of animal intelligence. And you've got, what are they called? Slime molds. They build these cities. It's a mold. It looks intelligent. Ant cities, I mentioned them. We've all seen sort of what they call murmurings of birds. They all move at the same instant. And we don't understand how they do it. There's all kind of things that look incredible. A tree's intelligent enough to do something that I couldn't possibly do or understand. So there's all kinds of intelligence, and one definition, it's kind of simple, and it describes a certain type of intelligence, I think, and that is intelligence is the ability to solve problems. Okay? So all of those examples I just gave you, they're all solving problems. They're a living thing deliberately solving a problem. Now, it may be by instinct, but that is intelligence growing in the world. It's multifaceted, so intelligence isn't just reading, writing, and arithmetic. We're going to look at that in some more depth in a minute with another model, which I really like. It's very colorful, amongst other things. It's mostly not taught in schools. You know, we don't learn photosynthesis in schools. I mean, not how to do it. We learn the theory because we don't know how. Okay, except in Finland. Well, not. This is partially true. So you may know that Finland consistently wins the prize for having the best education system in the world, right? Anyone not know that? Well, no, I'll say, who knew that? So only a few of you. Okay. You want to know how to make a fantastic education system that turns out not just widgets that can work in your tech industry, but human beings that are well-rounded and learn really well and are happy and can communicate and are well-balanced and have a well-rounded education. Finland is very good at this. And I have a friend in Finland, she got her PhD in intuition, which I didn't know you could do that, but she did. Her name's Asta Rami, there's a nice Scandinavian name for you. And it was not from Finland, but the neighbouring country. She got her PhD in intuition about 10 years ago, and then she's been working with designers and education and stuff on a small scale. Somebody in the education department got their hands on her thesis. Nobody reads PhD theses. Somehow they did. And they thought it was amazing. And as a result of that, they fast-tracked it through their approval process, and now intuition has been adopted as a subject for schools across all of Finland. Wow. And Asta's been engaged to train people, and she's training hundreds of teachers. How do you teach this stuff? So I just think that's really cool. I've got an interview with her somewhere. She's a lot of fun. We both really love Tintin and Lord of the Rings, so that's the basis for a beautiful friendship, if you know. Of course, everyone knows Lord of the Rings. Tintin? Some of you, okay. They're right. Tintin is known in America a little bit. In Europe, everybody knows who Tintin is. Consciousness is completely different. It's not about solving problems. It's about being able to feel things and experience something. And of course, it's implied by the common understanding of the word conscious. I'm conscious of the fact that I'm feeling pleasure or pain, or I love somebody, or I hate somebody, or all these common experiences. And the most fundamental experience is knowing that we exist. So consciousness is the basis, you can say, of the mind. But intelligence and consciousness often go together, and they often get confused when we're talking about that. So it's good to distinguish them. Now there's this really neat guy, Gardner, Howard Gardner. He developed this theory when he was at Harvard about multiple intelligences. And it's disputed by some neurologists and that, but it's been widely accepted by the educational community globally. This is used as a model. It's one of the perhaps the most popular model for multiple intelligences. And he identified 9 different kinds of intelligence. Let's start and take them one by one. Logical, mathematical. Okay, that's a very well-known kind of intelligence, and of course, in this part of the world, it's valued very highly because it generates tremendous wealth. So, hence value. Musical, I was so happy when I saw this one, of course. Actually, music gets its own little type of intelligence. Creativity doesn't, interestingly enough. And it's because it's part of all of these, or most of them. So it's too broad to have its own little sort of government department of creativity. Interpersonal, so relationships. Communication and empathy and all these things come under that. Intrapersonal, that's internal, so it's about self-awareness. You can say personal wisdom. It might involve some kind of emotional balance. Might be. We'd hope that a good psychologist has this. Visual and spatial. This is really important for people like actually high divers, who have to know where they are when they're spinning on the way down through the dive. They have to have really high spatial intelligence. It's very important in sports, gymnastics, of course, and also navigation, even architecture, visualizing 3-dimensional things. So it crosses over into mathematics as well, or sort of pairs with it. Linguistic, that's obvious. How many of you speak more than 3 languages? Oh dear, okay. I'm the worst in the room. Along with my lack of a university degree, I'm monolingual. It's kind of embarrassing sometimes, but I count music as my second language, so I kind of sneak out of it. But that's yeah, this is and I know the two look like, I know you, Madhu, but are you of Indian origin?
Yeah, I'm from India.
Okay, so everyone I know from India speaks like 4 languages minimum, and also the Dutch. They all speak, English better than the English, and then they've got German and Dutch and French and maybe Spanish. So, and then, but of course, even within a language, you've got your poets and writers and playwrights, rappers, and yeah, bodily kinesthetics. So this again, tremendous importance in sports and all that kind of knowing what different parts of your body are doing at any instant, though you can't see them. It's not sort of kind of an internal sense, right? And ice hockey players probably have to be really good at this. This one's, it's essential. This is for the philosophers, sort of wondering about the meaning of life and sort of really deeper, ruminative sort of questioning. And the last one is, this one I really find really interesting. The naturalist. This is the person you want to be with if you're stranded on a desert island, because they understand the environment really well, and they know they're aware of the environment very well. They're interested in it. So you get people, environmentalists, tree huggers, all these. They're sort of in touch with the natural world and can operate well within it. I told you I was going to tell you a story about my Karuna, my friend Karuna, who designed this amongst other things. She is the person you definitely don't want to be stuck on a desert island with. She told us this story that she was in Mexico City teaching a group. She was sort of doing this, but she was riding on a board. She's riding on the board, all this stuff, and there's about 20 people there. She's teaching them something about marketing or something. And then after a while, she turned around and everybody's gone. She said, what happened? She found out there had been an earthquake. I'm not kidding. It was like big enough to be in the news. There was an earthquake and everyone had fled the room and she had not noticed. So, some people wouldn't survive if somebody wasn't there to take care of them. She's like this. She's very capable of being incredibly focused on what she's doing. It's part of what makes her brilliant at what she does, but she doesn't have a clue. She's lost 3 laptop computers. One she left at an airport, and and it goes on. So anyway, isn't it wonderful how we're all different, and we all have different strengths, weaknesses, and I have a question for you. So pick a buddy in 2s, all right? Somebody near or next to you, I want you in pairs. You have 30 seconds to find a partner, quick. If you can't find a partner, move over to the other side. If you're short one person, you okay?
What are we doing?
Are you escaping for a minute? Okay. All right. And you have 2 questions. Which of these, which we just described, do IQ tests measure for? IQ test, intelligence quotient. Okay? Probably done one at some point in your life, maybe more than once, maybe not. If you're under 100, you're below average. If you're above 100, you're above average. If anyone's under 100 in this room, I will be shocked. Okay, where you go? And of course, second question. Well, start with the first question.
Visual, spatial,
And then the second
Your understanding, right?
So that can be
the one with segmental, You did one? Yeah. I think it does music. And it can be effectively doing.
Okay. Can we have a couple of thoughts on that? Who thinks that in IQ tests we measure for bodily kinesthetic intelligence? Okay. Linguistic?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Visual, spatial?
Maybe if it's
Yeah.
connected to memory.
Actually, definitely. There's all these puzzles
Yeah.
that are to do with visualization. Intrapersonal. 0, okay. Interpersonal. Musical. I'm crying at this point. Logical, mathematical. Okay, very much so. Naturalist. Existential. Okay, so 3. Linguistic, logical, and visual spatial. What have we just described? Is it a human?
AI.
It's a machine.
Which of these can be effectively mimicked by artificial intelligence?
Same three.
Obviously, linguistic, logical, mathematical, maybe. Some of you are much better and know about AI. How many of you actually understand something about AI? But, you know, don't be shy. Yeah, I know you're real scientists. What do you think? What would you say of these can be mimicked?
I think your example of recognizing cat and dog is visual. Right?
Yeah.
And autonomous vehicles are using some form of seeing the world.
Okay. Yeah.
Conceptually, you can generate songs using AI, but a part of it is, it's also like it's using the logical methodology to create those songs. So the creativity part is not there. So that's the argument against it. But
Yeah, of course, this is what everyone's talking about, right? But now we're all getting scared because the musicians and the creative artists and the filmmakers suddenly see AI usurping their territory, right? And the big question is AI creative or not? And what do you think?
I think it is creative in a way that when you're looking for different sources and you want inspiration, so that's also part of the creative process.
Yeah.
So it's creative there, but then the uniqueness of like humanity is still not there, like in a way.
Yeah. Seems reasonable. I mean, it's kind of it seems obvious, doesn't it? I mean, if you really think about it a little bit. You know, I've been involved in creative arts all my life. And first, I was into painting. Now I can't draw anything, but music and creative writing. Most of it, a great deal of it, is mimicry. You know, you learn from the masters and then you mimic them. But then, when you start creating something new, that, I think, the AI can't do. So the foundational stuff, when you're learning the craft, yeah, AI can do a passable job. It's getting better. It's going to be really good in 5 years. But actual new ideas, I doubt it. I don't know. I told you, I'm not an expert, but I'm very heavily biased to believe that it's not possible as a creative artist. So how do I separate myself from that? But what seems really clear, though, and this is actually summed up in, again, I'm quoting Sohail and Ayatollah, he said, we are educating our children for a future that no longer exists. Why are we spending so much energy and resources and time teaching kids all about these skills that computers are already better than us at? We're guaranteeing that they're unemployable in the future. So this is a thought. All right. My little thing's not doing what it's supposed to do. Why not? Oh, here we go. Okay. So this is my thesis about this. We're smart enough to create intelligent machines, but we are not machines. Okay. But we have been becoming centaurs. Who's familiar with this model in the context of artificial/human intelligence? Okay, I'll give you an example. Well, you know what? I'm going to jump ahead. I won't. Okay. About 2,500 years ago, cast your mind back. Pythagoras complained that his students were writing things down. And he said, these young people today, they will spoil their ability to remember things because they won't have to make any effort. They'll ruin their brains by using this tool of writing which at that point was technically 1,000 years old, but hardly anyone could do it. Right? And guess what? He was right. Our memories have become worse because of the technology of writing and recording thoughts and experiences, because we don't have to exercise our mind so much. Imagine if you were a scholar 3,000 years ago or 4,000 years ago, and there were scriptures then. There was the boring Epic of Gilgamesh. If you haven't read it, don't bother. I did. It's really the only reason anyone's interested is because it was one of the first stories in history that people remember. They had to memorize the whole thing. The Vedas goes back 7,000 years or something. They had to remember 15,000, the oldest, according to the people that like the Vedas at least, 15,000 years. They had to remember all this stuff in Sanskrit. So, of course, the Odyssey and the Iliad and all that stuff we're more familiar with in this culture, at least, local European culture, whatever. So once you don't have to do that anymore, yeah, your brain gets lazy and you do other stuff with it. Great. Okay, so this is not a new thing. We've got this relationship with technology where we outsource certain functions to technology and we do the other stuff ourselves, which is perhaps more interesting. Photography is another one. There was a huge panic when was photography? 200 years ago? Less than that. All the painters panicked. Art is dead. But what happened? Non-representational art was born, and now we have this. We went to the MoMA gallery recently. There weren't any realistic paintings there. What's the point? You've got photography, but there's a whole other undiscovered thing. So that's another one. Calculators. When they first came out, kids weren't allowed them in school. Now everyone's panicking about getting AI to write their university essays, and it's not a new thing. Of course, cell phones. We've all outsourced. I used to remember 100 phone numbers. Now, if I remember my own, I'm doing really well, right? So we're all in maps. I can't find my way out of a cardboard box ordinarily. Now it's worse. So, yeah, ChatGPT is the new one, right? But of course, it is different. AI is different because it learns, and it's tremendously powerful, and it's developing at an accelerating rate. So it is measurably very different phenomena, but this thing of us sort of sharing the functions of our mind with machine, or outsourcing functions to machines or technology, has been around for a very long time. 1996, so Garry Kasparov was the world chess champion, and then he got beat by Deep Blue, the IBM computer, and it was big world news. But what most people don't know is what happened 2 years later. Anybody know what I'm talking about? He won by partnering with a computer program. He beat Deep Blue, which was a much more powerful computer program, but the human and the computer together could beat any single computer program or any single human. The partnership was much more powerful. That's the centaur. Okay? So that's when they're talking about centaur model, they're talking about bringing the strength of our creativity and intuition and all the uniquely human intelligences, partnering with the extraordinary brute force calculating power of the artificial intelligence to process unimaginable amounts of data. You combine their strengths and you get something way more powerful than either alone. So just a little example, I have this friend Aaron, he's a really good artist. He's been an artist for many years. You know him, and up in, where does he live? Do you remember?
Virginia.
Virginia, there you go. And he's been an artist for decades, does incredible art. And I saw him recently, and he'd been playing with Midjourney. This is one of the best, probably the best image creation artificial intelligence. And he's been playing with it for a year, and he said he'd created 1,000 images. And he's really excited about it. He doesn't feel threatened by it because it enabled him to create this and this and this. And 997 more in a year, which he could never have done. So it's increased his productivity dramatically. So I heard about this, I thought, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I'm going to do that. Let me try. So I experimented with one of these, and I discovered it's harder than it looks. Okay.